The Acolytes have come and gone, and I bet that a lot of you farmed violence for Maiming Strike. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about all the mods that violence dropped, probably that you didn't care as much about, and tell you why you should care about them more than Maiming Strike, or well, for using them more than Maiming Strike. To help you get an idea for how good they are, why they might be good, maybe why not, etc. And also to talk about Maiming Strike a little bit, of course. You might be wondering more about the other Acolytes, so I also made a video on every single other Acolyte mod, and you can find those in the Acolyte Cast playlist in the description of this video if you're not looking for these mods. But just as I know that you may be wondering about other Acolyte mods, you may well be wanting to hear some words about these, so let's talk about them. I'm going to go from most common to most rare. I think that that's the order in which they impact gameplay the most, and we'll talk about that as we go through. But let's just begin. Behold, Shrapnel Shot. This is the one that I want to recommend the most. This is Violence's, I tried to say Torment, Malice, Violence's common drop with a 50% drop rate. It's been a long week. And this is basically a budget primed Ravage, which I feel like is really a lot better than... I didn't know this mod existed, I'm not going to lie to you. So this is the first of the 3 mods in the cycle of Violence's critical damage mods, and they all are going to give you critical damage while aiming after you get a kill. So this is similar to the cycle of critical chance mods, that was like Argon Scope and Friends. They give you critical chance while aiming after a headshot, and then Nano Applicator and Friends give you status chance while aiming after an ability cast. These have the condition that you have to get a kill first. I actually think that that condition is meaningfully worse, or like more of a thing you actually care about. Getting a headshot, like you fire the weapon at the enemy's head, like come on, get a headshot. And for casting, you can use operator abilities, you can use, pick a warframe where you're using their abilities a lot. Having to cast is not a big deal. Having to get a headshot's not a big deal. But having to get a kill first kind of does matter, because it means that for your first target, you don't have your critical damage bonus, which in this case is like a lot of, it's a lot of damage. So it may be rather difficult to get this rolling if you're at higher levels, because a meaningful amount of your weapon's damage is just not there at the beginning. Now, in practice, I would say because this is a shotgun mod, and the 3 shotguns that you're using this on are like the Archiplasmor, the Corinth, and the Vacor Heck. Those are like the critical shotguns, shotguns you want this mod on. I feel like they're not really going to have trouble getting that first kill. You can just shoot like a fodder enemy, so it's probably fine. And this is about the same critical damage percentage as Primed Ravage. So if your Primed Ravage is rank 9, that is right before max rank, then this gives 1% less critical damage than it. And that's a rank 9 primed mod. So this is it's a common mod. You probably just have this, and I think you should use it, because for most players, they do not have a fully ranked Primed Ravage, and for those players, this mod is like better than the critical damage option they have. And especially if you don't have Primed Ravage, a lot of those shotguns I mentioned that are good with crits are not even good with crits if you don't have Primed Ravage. Like if you just have normal Ravage, the Vacor Heck is not really better than the normal Heck without Primed Ravage. But this would make it that it was. So if you want to use that weapon, but you don't have Primed Ravage, or you're not ready to rank a primed mod to rank 9, then this mod is a pretty large gain for you. Even if you didn't farm Violence, I would kind of recommend maybe trying to pick one of these up, like ask your friends or clanmates, or maybe try to buy one. Like, I can't imagine anyone is charging any meaningful amount of platinum for this. Like, nobody thinks this is any good, and everybody has them from farming for Maiming Strike, so like, you could probably pick one up real cheap. Anyway, it's a lot cheaper than Primed Ravage. So that's my surprising endorsement for Shrapnel Shot. I bet that's not what you expected when you clicked on this video. Anyway, moving on to mods that are maybe a little more familiar and that are an easier recommendation, Bladed Rounds. So this is the rifle mod of the critical damage on kill cycle. And this one has the best percentage. This one gives you the most critical damage. This one gives you the same amount of critical damage as Vital Sense, which is the non-conditional rifle critical damage mod. So, you'd always run Vital Sense first, but this gives you the same. So, it's like running 2 Vital Senses. Now, in general, you don't want to run 2 Vital Senses. You want to run, as many different multipliers as possible. You want a critical chance mod, a critical damage mod, a status mod with an element, a status mod with a different element. a multi-shot mod, a base damage mod, a fire rate mod, maybe, you want to run many different multipliers. You don't want to stack up crit chance, crit damage. Like, you don't want to do that. That's bad. But that doesn't mean that this mod might not be the once you're all the way done stacking up the multipliers you have, you're going to have like one slot open. This might be the best damage bonus, especially on weapons with maximum critical chance, or like not maximum critical chance, but 100% or more. They're always critting. So this is going to be a big damage bonus for those mods. And crit damage is a good way to increase your overall damage as long as you're getting it consistently enough. But on weapons that don't have 100% or higher critical chance, I would probably rather run Argon Scope and get more consistent criticals rather than more spiky and less consistent criticals. So I don't know, and that leads me to the only reason I don't recommend this mod, but it's a big one, is that rifles have a lot of competition for mod space. You could be running Honey Munitions, you could be running Argon Scope, you could be running more multi-shot and fire rate, or punch through, or maybe even a third element in some rare cases, or a Riven, I don't know. There's a lot of things you could be running on rifles. Rifles definitely have a lot of mods in that last 8th slot that they might like to use. Maybe it's a weapon augment, maybe it's Firestorm on weapons where that goes on there, maybe it's a beam extension mod, I don't know. But there are a lot of mods for that 8th slot on rifles. This is not going to be as true of pistols, which will factor into the pistol version of this mod's viability, and we're going to talk about that I guess right now. That's all I really have to say about this. It's a good mod. The value it gives you is objectively strong, but we only got 8 mod slots, and there are a lot of other good, compelling options in that slot as well. Onward to Sharpened Bullets. This is the pistol version of that mod, and I said that pistols having more open space comparatively to rifles would make this mod better, and it does make it better, but I still don't think this is very good. I think this one is bad overall. Not just barely, but bad overall, because it doesn't give a high enough critical damage percentage. This is better than Target Cracker if you don't have Prime Target Cracker. This is a little bit better than Target Cracker, but if you have Target Cracker, even at like a relatively low rank, Prime Target Cracker is a lot better than this. And I've never found myself using this mod. I've always looked at this mod whenever I've got that last slot open on a pistol, a crit pistol. But I never use it. I never find myself in a situation where I'm using it. So I don't really know what to say about this one. I don't think it's bad. It's just that it's a mod that you aren't going to find is better than its other options that often. So this one, it's not a matter of a lack of space. It's that this one is just weaker than the other options. So you have, for example, Hydraulic Crosshairs, which is the same as Argon Scope, but for pistols, and dropped from another Acolyte. That's a lot better than this, I would say. Not only is it a matter of having more consistent criticals versus more critical damage on those criticals, but this is also just a lot less critical damage. Like, generally speaking, critical damage is a good thing, but this just isn't enough of it to compare to way more critical chance, like literally almost twice as much critical chance. So in most cases, it's going to be better to go there. There is a little exception called the new core with the highest critical damage multiplier in the game, but terrible critical chance. So maybe you could run this there. I don't know. I like the new core, and I actually don't have room for this mod on that build, so I don't know. But yeah, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It's more that it is close to the worst thing in the world. Whereas with Bladed Rounds, it was that it's really good. There's just a lot of competition. This one, it doesn't have very much competition, but it's decidedly worse than that competition. So not a mod I would never use, but a mod that I happen to never have used. That's a slightly nicer way to put it. Not a glowing endorsement. Just like I will not be giving a glowing endorsement to this mod, Maiming Strike. So this mod, for those that don't know how this works, let's explain how it works. So this mod gives you a flat additive, if you will, 90% critical chance on slide attacks. So this means this isn't multiplying what your crit chance is by 90%. This is just giving you the number 90% critical chance on top of whatever you have when you do a slide attack before mods. So let me clarify what that means. Let's say you have a weapon with 10% critical chance. If this worked like True Steel and just multiplied your critical chance to give you more critical chance, then it would only give you 19% critical chance on slide attacks, which would be terrible. But this gives you 90% flat, irrelevant of what your critical chance value is, and then just adds that on. So in a weapon with 10% critical chance, this gives you a 100% critical chance. And even better, this is also affected by Blood Rush. So this will get added in before Blood Rush multiplies your crit chance further, if you're using that alongside it, which you definitely should, which means that even at a very low combo multiplier, this almost always gives you constant red crits or multi-red crits whenever you slide attack, which is crazy. Now, this mod is very strong. I want to establish that right out of the gate. This mod is very, very strong. That's why it's very strong. Slide attacks do a lot of damage anyway, and it's not super difficult to spam them out, and that's really good. That all does a lot of damage. But melee weapons already do a huge amount of damage, and this also prevents you from using stance combos. I think a lot of people who think this mod is the ultimate, the only way to go with melee weapons, don't realize that stance combos often offer you forced procs or some other multiplier benefits or multi-hits or something that can outweigh this mod's benefit. It's not like this mod is somehow weak, but there are reasons to not slide attack constantly. It would be one thing if it was just like, it's basically just the type of melee attack, but it's not. It prevents you from doing combos and other stuff. You have to be constantly slide attacking, which will, make you do a lot of damage, but it's also unnecessary because you already do an insane amount of damage. Like, when was the last time you really needed more melee weapon damage? Like, really? Your melee weapon build is not killing enemies that are like hundreds of levels high? Like, they should be. I can help you with that. They definitely should be without this mod. So it's not that this mod is not really good. It's not really about that. I'm talking about the gameplay impact this mod has. What does this mod actually add to your life? Like, what does it do to make the game more fun? And I really do feel like the answer is nothing. In fact, I think it kind of actively harms it by giving you repeated strain injury by doing slide attacks over and over again, and making melee combat really boring by making it slide attacks over and over again. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like this mod is oppressive with every melee weapon. I do think that because it's so strong and so specialized, you really should be using this mod on the weapons that are really good with it. Don't just put it on every... I think most people feel that. Like, even the people that really, really love this mod for whatever reason, you're using it on, like, the Atarax, right? Like, on, like, maybe Telos Boltes, but like on the Atarax, like on the Atarax, right? Or, the Scoliac with the Riven thing, I guess. But on the Atarax, if you insist on using this, if you really, really want to see gigantic numbers, even though it doesn't actually really do anything, and you could just use another melee weapon that doesn't use this and do the same exact thing, it just won't look like crazy numbers, then I recommend the Atarax. The Atarax has really, really good slide attack range with its whip slide attack. Those have incredible range. It's got the slash damage you're looking for. It's got the base status chance you're looking for. You're going to want to scale that up with Weeping Wounds, so you get slash procs to actually deal with enemy armor. You can't just do big chunks of slash damage. That doesn't work. The game doesn't work like that. But I would still, you still run Blood Rush. It's got good base critical chance too, which doesn't make a huge difference, but it doesn't hurt. And it's got a great critical multiplier. That's important. You run that Organ Shatter. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Use it on that weapon. It's alright on Telos Boltes. You can build like a big single hit build where you don't use your melee weapon that much, but when you do a slide attack, you just mow through whatever it is you attack. Like, that can be kind of helpful. It's kind of fun for like speed running stuff. But besides that, I don't really see where you're using this mod that's not inferior to those two situations and just like boring and pointless, because you could just use a normal melee build. And that is why I'm going to recommend that you sell this mod. This mod is valuable, considered to be valuable. I don't think it's actually very valuable, but it's considered to be valuable. And once Melee 3.0 passes, people will realize that this mod isn't going to get nerfed. Once people understand that, then the price will go up a little bit more, and then that would be a great time to sell it. So wait maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks. That's a Melee 3.0 guess. If you're from the future, tell me if I was right. And then sell this mod and make some platinum. But I don't really see why you would use it, because you can just make a normal melee build. Please watch my other videos and learn how to make another melee build that will just kill things anyway and be more fun and won't give you repeated strain injury. And oh man, there's so many other things. You'll find love, you'll get rich, you'll not have repeated strain injury, you'll like melee weapons. So yeah, I don't really recommend you actually use this. Again, it's not going to get nerfed. They did nerf the way that melee weapons clip through the environment. So slide attacks and all other melee attacks now do not pass through the environment, but that's not directly related to Maiming Strike. It's just that it impacted Maiming Strike a lot, of course, but it impacts other, it impacts polearms a lot. It was not a specific Maiming Strike nerf, and if Maiming Strike didn't exist, that would still have been a warranted change to the game because it just makes sense, and it was really weird and unintuitive and kind of unfair compared to other weapon categories that you could hit enemies through walls with some kinds of weapons. That's just silly. So yeah, it's not getting nerfed. Just clearing that up. Anyway, tell your friends Maiming Strike isn't getting nerfed, which is a great reason to save it for a little bit and then sell it. Good. I do want to end this little podcasty video by talking about something a little more positive. I do actually like the design of this mod a lot. So the idea that this mod makes it so specific types of attacks are much stronger, and like also in an additive way, like they get an additive stat bonus. That's very interesting to me. So I'd be interested to see like, what about this mod, but it's aerial attacks, like air melee has like a 200% chance, flat critical chance to be a critical hit. Like, that would be kind of cool. Like, all those flying enemies that are really annoying, like swat them out of the air. Like that would be sick. I would run that mod on all sorts of weapons. And I also really like additive bonuses. I think that additive bonuses are kind of the cure to what ails this game in some areas, because they make weapons without supplemental stats better, and they don't make weapons with supplemental stats better. So we're currently in kind of a place in Warframe where, I guess this doesn't really have to do with Maiming Strike anymore, where any weapon that has good supplemental stats is just the best weapon. Those are the best weapons. And weapons without supplemental stats are never as good because they just can't multiply their values in such a massive, multifaceted way, the way that weapons with full supplemental stats do. So usually hybrid weapons are just the best weapons, and if a weapon isn't hybrid, or at least does, has status or something, if a weapon doesn't have any supplemental stats like crit or status, then it's usually just bad. There are very, very, very few weapons in this game that don't have any supplemental stats. They're just damage, and they're actually good. Almost all weapons, if they don't have crit and or status, they are bad. Like, and if they do, then they're good. In fact, yeah, there's very few. It works both ways. So if they added additive mods, that's what I was trying to discuss. If they add additive stats to the game, they add a mod that for every weapon class that gives 50% crit chance, additive, not off what the weapon has. You just get 50% for every weapon type, not while doing a certain action, just for every weapon type. Imagine this mod. So like, look at it on primary. So we have a mod that gives you a flat 50% critical chance. Weapons with good critical chance can't really make good use of this mod, because like if you use this on the lens or whatever, like you get more critical chance by using the multiplicative critical chance mod because it's got good critical chance. But then if you use it on like the Bratton has a really bad critical chance, so this mod is really good, and it makes the Bratton a lot more powerful, like dramatically more powerful. Suddenly the Bratton is hybrid viable. The Bratton series generally has pretty good status. Bratton Prime's got great status, but they don't have good enough crit, and so they don't really have the multipliers to stand up to their hybrid competition. But they're also kind of slash focused, so crit, you got flat critical chance, and now you can run critical damage, you can run vital sense. Now your slash procs are scaled up with basically full critical stats, just as if the weapon was a critical weapon. The only problem with this is that it would dissolve the identity of weapons a little bit, and that's why I don't really want them to do this, even though it would make weapons that are currently bad kind of good. You know what would be a great idea? If they did this with Rivens. If they made it so Riven mods, the special thing about Riven mods became that they gave additive stats. So like whenever a Riven mod gives crit, it's additive crit, and status, additive status. That would actually be insane, but let's just say crit. And then Rivens would have their intended effect. You don't need Riven disposition anymore. You can make Rivens all scale the exact same way, and they will automatically balance themselves to be good on weak weapons and bad on strong weapons. Because let's say every Riven in the game magically has critical chance, and they're all additive. That means Riven mods are bad on every weapon that has critical chance already, and is thereby already a good weapon. And they're good on every weapon that doesn't have critical chance already, and is not already a good weapon. Riven mods are permanently auto-balanced forever. Just make them have no disposition and give them additive stat bonuses. Except be a little bit careful because some of those would be really, like, additive status would be kind of gross. But anyway, that's my little takeaway from this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this helpful. Tell your friends if you did. And again, if you're looking for any of the mods from the other Acolytes, those are in the description in the full Acolyte Cast playlist, and I'll see you all next time.